Which, honestly, now that I'm older, I'm like, why would you try to kill puppies? Like, if you let them grow, you can get more fur, right? Like, that's just fiscally
Could have been 50
irresponsible.
Dalmatians.
50.
Thanks, gentlemen, for my intro. Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts, Matt and Hyder.
Better rojo than dead.
Javier Ortiz.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to make him laugh.
I love how you only committed to one of those words, and I have to believe it's because you don't know the Spanish word for dead.
No, I didn't look it up. I forgot.
What if
You have to look up. You have to look up rojo.
What does peri rojo mean? But I was like, wait, I think that's like an extension of, I don't know. Tango hombre, okay?
What is up, my nerds?
And Ian Anderson.
Some shit.
Some shit indeed, my friend. Some shit indeed.
Hey, bro.
Well, as always, we appreciate your help growing the podcast. Go ahead, hit that follow or subscribe button. Tell a friend about us. Check out our website, whatsourverdict.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter. We send out updates and exclusive content. You can also pick up some sweet, sweet merch there. Interact with us and listen to our What's Our Verdict TV episodes as well. So we always ask, do you ever find yourself wondering if you spend the time, money, or both on a movie? To help with that question, each week we put a movie on trial, discuss the facts, pass judgment, and let you know our verdict. Today we're reviewing Cruella. It was released May 28th, 2021. It was written by Dana Fox and Tony McNamara. It was directed by Craig Gillespie. Stars Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, Joel Fry, Paul Walter Hauser, and Mark Strong. It is a live-action prequel following a young Cruella de Vil. As always, if you haven't seen this movie yet and you want to avoid spoilers, go watch it, come back, pick up where you left off. If you're not afraid of spoilers, hang out with us because we're about to spoil the shit out of this thing. You can also go check out our spoiler-free review over on YouTube. It's an interesting one this week. We kind of lose control of ourselves, so go have fun with that and watch it. But yeah, let's dive into Cruella.
I want to tell everyone yesterday I went to Starbucks with Taylor to get what they call a pink drink. And the lady that gave us the drink and the grilled cheese sandwich, she had Cruella de Vil hair, except it was opposite. And I was like, are we starting a trend here? Having seen this movie, I'm curious, all you girls out there, are we just going to get a patch of white? I don't know. Let's find out.
Matt, I want to pitch something to you. What if you got Cruella hair?
Ooh.
Just to see what happens?
But I don't have like really dark, like jet black hair and then like to do some white. That would be more work. Like I am better red than I am dead. So how does that work for me?
I was just thinking you could put some blue in there too somewhere, and then you just be patriotic.
I thought we'd have Javier do it because right now
I don't have any hair.
I have to like paint it on him.
How about this? You do it, and then you can have a red mullet.
Mullets are in style.
They've never been in style.
No, there's a lot of people watching with mullets right now. It's weird.
I know. There's certain things. Look, the 80s were a fun decade. The 90s were dumb. Leave that shit in the 90s.
Now you're just being hurtful.
So if I can get Starbucks girl to listen, I do want to know if you did this hairstyle because you were like inspired by Cruella. I don't know, but just throwing it out there. Starbucks doing it right.
Cruella or Sia. Sia's been rocking that one for a minute.
Didn't know that.
Okay. Can we talk about this movie
at some point
today?
And that was part of the movie. I was talking about the hair.
Not part of the movie. You talk about Starbucks.
It's the most identifiable characteristic of Cruella except for the Dalmatian print.
You are killing me right now, dude.
Or like the triangle cheekbones from the cartoon. Go ahead, Javier. Let's talk about Cruella.
So I'm going to start out with the CGI because this is like my biggest problem. Like we mentioned it in the spoiler free, but there was maybe there's two things that I can think of that you couldn't necessarily train a dog to do, or you wouldn't want to put a dog in that situation.
Sure.
Everything else you could have a dog do.
Yeah.
Why did they spend so much time doing CGI dogs?
I don't know.
Well, why'd they only do half the dogs CGI? Because the other two were real dogs, right? Like most of the time.
So at times, yeah, when they were just like sitting still in the apartment and they were older, they were real dogs. But at the beginning, like that's my problem. So you had this puppy. It's a fucking puppy. All it was doing was playing with this girl. Like, why do you need you either have the shittiest trainers in Hollywood or you just got the wrong fucking puppy. Because God damn it, puppies are cute. They're naturally gonna shine on screen. Why do you need to CGI this puppy? And then on top of that, why CGI the Dalmatians? Like, I get the part when they're trying to take off her feet and she's swinging from the thing at the show. Like, you can make those CGI, and I'll even forgive the fact that it looks like shit, because I understand you don't want to have giant Dalmatians chasing this little girl down and possibly taking off her feet. But for fuck's sake, when they're just sitting there, God damn it, don't make them CGI. It's stupid. My aunt probably has 6 Dalmatians. I'll make a phone call, pay her a little bit. I'm sure she.
How does that stuff pass through when they're watching the movie and they're like, "Hey, is this good CGI or not?" Oh, it wasn't. Like, they all see it too. I just don't get how that stuff passes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get how it passes. We can pay a dog and their trainer a few $1,000s to come be in this movie, or we could blow half our budget on CGI.
Is it saying something about us as a society that we'd rather move into the digital age than have the real thing? I don't know. We're not going to go down that hole today, but
to be fair, it's starting to get to the point that CGI is cheaper than a lot of practical effects.
Oh, has it gotten cheaper?
Not all the time, but it's getting there. But the real problem is not for a dog sitting on the fucking floor staring at you. Like, it's.
Hey, they didn't want to take the poop out between scenes.
There it is.
And maybe, I don't know. I just don't get it.
Also, are Dalmatians aggressive like that normally, or is that just a cartoon thing?
No, I've heard that they're aggressive and like hard to train.
They are. So my aunt used to have them. The only dog that's ever bit me out of me not like messing with the dog and playing with it and going too far with it is a Dalmatian. They can be they're not all, look, I'm always a firm believer, and I want to set this precedent right now with me. I think dogs are what their owners make them, but there are dogs that have the ability to fall naturally towards an aggressive style easier than others, and Dalmatians are one of them.
Some dog breeds are dicks.
Sure.
You know, and Dalmatians are one of them.
Chihuahuas. That's why it was so funny to watch this one in this movie, because he was really funny with his little eye patch and Wink. He was cute. But
Wink was so cute.
Those dogs are dicks.
Like at one point, you have those 3 Dalmatians on a couch barking at a TV.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could have my dog do that.
Yeah.
That just blows my mind that you CGI 3 dogs on a couch barking.
Yeah, so I mean, right out the gate, it bothered me that there was so much CGI in places that just didn't feel necessary. But the other piece that bothered me, and this goes back to what I said in the spoiler free, is this is Cruella. This is like one of the most unsalvageable villains in movie history, in my opinion, as a child. And they're trying to make me feel sorry for her and relate to her and want her to succeed. And that's not my Cruella. I wanted a showdown between 2 horrible human beings.
Thank you.
From start to finish. I don't want her to be likable. I want it so that I know she's going to win, but I don't give a shit who does, because I just want chaos and mayhem, because these are 2 people that don't care.
I wanted a Joker v. Joker.
Yeah.
I just want to agree, like, that was probably my biggest knock on this movie, is that I feel like if you're going to do this prequel origin story of Cruella, you should be able to pick up 101 Dalmatians and go, oh, that's why she is the way she is. And it doesn't, like, if you would have made this movie and called it something else, heck, call it Estella and drop all the 101 Dalmatians stuff and make a movie, I would have been more interested in it than you trying to pitch. This is, Cruella is just this person who had a bad upbringing, because you watch 101 Dalmatians and that's not it. And the first thing they do is make the Dalmatians the bad guy. I was just frustrated with a lot of stuff in this movie. So
this seems like a good place to touch on this mid-credit scene, just so you guys are aware. I'm just letting all of our listeners know that none of my partners here are committed enough to wait around for 2 minutes of credits to see the end of this. So anyway, what happens is they show the lawyer, who is the main character, who's the male lead of 101 Dalmatians, and Anita, the reporter, who's the female lead in 101 Dalmatians, getting Pongo and Perdita as a gift from Cruella. And then it shows him singing the Cruella de Vil at his piano from their little window in London. Like they show, and
that's insulting.
Yeah, so it literally went from the end of this movie, Cruella tearing down the sign so it says Hell Hall, the mansion, and then do a lead in to 101 Dalmatians. So it's like they're saying we're getting ready, we're going to do the live action version of 101 Dalmatians with these characters. And I went, no, because that Cruella, her little speech at her mom's, her adopted mom's grave, saying that, or her own grave, sorry, saying that, you know, Estella's gone and Cruella's here and I'm as crazy as my mom, if not more, and I'm better. That is not enough for me to go, oh, yep, now I get the psychotic Cruella from the cartoon.
She wouldn't even kill dogs.
Yeah.
That's like Cruella's thing. She spends an entire movie trying to kill 101 puppies. That's messed up.
That apparently now, due to this retcon, she gave to them as puppies of her 3 psychotic dogs.
Guys, haven't we seen enough dogs die in John Wick?
Yes.
Let them be.
No, but what I'm saying is, I'm with JJ. Why can't villains just be villains?
Well, right? That's what Disney's trying to do. They're trying to soften it and make them likable and have this new spin. I'm not here to disagree with any of that.
No, I don't. Cruella, of all people, should not be likable. She's not likable.
No.
She's trying to kill puppies in the original movie.
Yeah. I mean, they've done it with 2 of the best Disney villains. Maleficent, while Angelina Jolie is fun to watch in those movies, she was also, this woman turned into a dragon and tried to eat some motherfuckers. This is not a salvageable person, nor is Cruella. She tried to kill cute dogs. I'm out.
Even as a kid, you're like, she's trying to kill these dogs, right? Like that was not lost on us as kids.
No.
Which, honestly, now that I'm older, I'm like, why would you try to kill puppies? Like, if you let them grow, you can get more fur, right? Like, that's just fiscally
could have been 50 Dalmatians.
50.
Thanks, gentlemen, for my intro.
See? Cruella's not evil enough. If I'm having more evil thoughts than Cruella, she's not a good enough villain yet.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Let's talk about something I did like. JJ, give me the names of her 2 henchmen.
Horace and Jasper.
I like those guys.
The actors were Joel Fry and Paul Walter Hauser. And Horace, okay, in the cartoon, they're funny and they're goofy and they're like the slapstick comedy of the movie. But these guys really brought them to life. Like, and I enjoyed the dynamic of like Jasper kind of being in love with Cruella as Estella, and that's why he sticks around and then fail. I like that dynamic. I did enjoy that. I just wish she'd been an asshole the whole time instead of half the movie.
I did like I feel like a lot of the jokes for me honestly did land and wink and everything. They made me laugh. Like, it was funny. Like, there's some stuff where with the dogs, I think like chewing up the couch, like the couch, and then Wink like infiltrating one of those heists like through a little window, and he came down through, and then him dressing up as a rat and like a really big rat, and he just started spraying him on the camera. Like, that stuff was clever to me. I laughed. I really liked that. They got me through some of when this movie was really long, but they made me laugh.
I really enjoyed Horace and Jasper. Their comedy was probably the only comedy that landed for me. But just like a small point of like when you look at 101 Dalmatians, you look at Horace and Jasper, and they're not Horace and Jasper like that you grow up with either. But I will agree that they get you through the movie with some comedic relief that if it wasn't there, it would have been a real slog. I
was a little unsure how successful they were as thieves. Because one scene they're like stealing diamonds from a jewelry store, and the next thing they have a stolen birthday cake. So I'm like, either they can't afford birthday cakes or they're just 3 kleptomaniacs that just love stealing.
Hey, that was a pretty funny scene though.
I was also a little unsure on like what their skill sets were. Right? Because at one point, Cruella admits to not knowing how to drive, but she does know how to hotwire a car, which she learned on the streets, pickpocketing at some point.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Think about that part.
I didn't really catch that part. Well played, sir. Well played.
Another part I liked in this movie, I thought the soundtrack was intriguing to me. I thought they did a really good job, like setting scenes of what they wanted you to kind of feel or where the direction of what was going to happen next. Whoever's job that was in this movie, I think they did a good job.
I agree completely.
I feel like they just took a playlist of their favorite music and applied it, whether it fit or not.
I liked it.
It's a great playlist. Like, I loved all the music, but it didn't fit all the time.
You know what part really worked for me?
I didn't like this movie. I apologize.
Was when she started waging war against the Baroness and she kept crashing all of her parties, that was like the one good part of this movie for me. So Ian, shit on that a little bit for me.
I don't have to. She rolled up in a trash can. That's shit enough.
Nice. Got her.
Now, I will agree with you, Manson. I enjoyed the soundtrack. And while I also agree with Ian that some of them were just felt like a great playlist over a not great movie, there were times like the cover of Come Together near the end of the movie when they're getting ready for the big party and the big finale was a really cool cover. And I hate the Beatles, but I love that song. I know, shut up. I do. I am not a Beatles fan.
How do you hate the Beatles?
Because I don't enjoy their music very much. There's like 2 or 3 songs.
No one actually enjoys their music, but no one hates the Beatles.
I do. But I do love that song, but I love the covers of that song, and this cover was really good.
Even Yellow Submarine? That's a classic.
What a stupid song.
All live in a yellow submarine.
Exactly my point. Like, just the name of the song, Yellow Submarine. Fuck that song. Anyway, yeah, so I'm with you. It had a good soundtrack, but it didn't enhance the movie much for me. It just was nice to listen to. So one thing I do want to talk about that I liked about this movie, and Javier mentioned, is the acting's really good. Emma Stone's amazing. She's good in everything she does. Emma Thompson is one of my favorite actresses. Like, I can't think of a movie that she's been in that I didn't enjoy her in. So those two facing off in all the different ways, like when Cruella's trying to be Estella and working for her and doesn't realize that whole aspect worked really well for me. And then I liked Joel Fry and Paul Walter Hauser as the two henchmen. That was really good as well. The main core acting group was fantastic when it came to acting.
Who was the butler?
I agree.
That's Mark Strong.
He's great.
This is like the first movie I've seen him where he's not trying to kill someone.
Where he's like a supporting character, but not like a main supporting character, right?
Like, not like a villainous supporting character.
Yeah,
trying to
not like the main villain. Yeah.
So not true. I have a retort for that comment, though I was agreeing for a minute. But he was also in Kingsman, the first Kingsman movie. And he played Merlin. And he was like the comedic relief, like weird background guy.
What a great, terrible movie. I love Kingsman.
I do
for
too.
no reason.
That's a guilty pleasure of mine.
It totally is. Dude, Samuel Jackson is a villain.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Where heads blow up.
And mindless slaughter in a church. What a beautiful thing.
That's a very...
To this day, is, in my mind, the most brutal scene I've ever seen.
Yeah, we should really do that movie.
Oh my gosh, it comes out of nowhere.
That movie has a really weird ending.
Yeah, the whole movie's weird.
That movie's weird. It's just weird. And the second one's even weirder. And then there's a prequel coming out this year sometime. So.
I haven't seen the second one, but I hear the prequel's going to be good.
I hope so. The second one was odd. Yeah. Didn't love it. Anyway.
But the prequel looks cool.
Yes, it does. But Mark Strong, there's another case where he plays a secondary character that isn't a villain. As odd as it was.
So he was playing the long con this whole time.
The very long con.
I have to say, I love when they put him with hair because I was not expected to see him with hair in the movie.
Me neither.
Because Mark Strong looks weird as fuck with hair.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, we have some more CGI budget. What should we do? Let's put some hair on Mark Strong.
Let's put this shitty toupee-looking fake hair on Mark Strong and call it real.
We could make one more dog, or he'll be out.
Yeah, there's just some people that don't look right with hair, and Mark Strong's one of them. Like, he's got that deep, menacing voice. Or soothing voice, depending on how he's talking to you. And then he's got this scowl that's on his face, like constantly with that beak of a nose. And then you put hair on him and it's like, wait, what?
The Rock is also one of those.
Yeah.
Remember when he had hair?
Weird with hair. Yeah. I also remember when The Rock was chubby, not like ripped, when he was in the WWE and he was like kind of flabby.
Oh, but he was big. Not cut.
Sure, he was huge, but he was just kind of flabby. I was like, wait, what? I mean, he wasn't fat. I don't want to say he was fat because I'm fat. That's fat.
He had a protective layering.
Yeah, exactly. He just had a little extra on him and around the muscle.
So my question is with the butler, and when she said, "You know what to do." Clearly, he knew what that meant, but wasn't going to fulfill killing a small child. Good for him. But then he didn't do that thing and saved the baby. Like, why didn't he Like, how does the Baroness get away with that? If he was that loyal and not killing his baby, why not just tell the Baron that, hey, your wife's psycho and just tried to kill your firstborn child? Maybe you should do something about this.
I'm still wondering how the Baroness ended up with this Baron guy, because he seemed like a nice fella.
That too. Sure. We can start with that. That
actually happens quite often.
Yeah, she's a manipulative narcissist. That makes sense.
And vice versa. How do very, very nice women end up in extremely abusive relationships with pieces of shit men?
That's true.
Right? People just make poor relationship decisions, and then once they're in them, there's a comfort level, and you kind of stick around or go back when you actually get out. I've seen it a ton. It's unfortunate.
Poor Baron, though.
But I think kind of to your question, Mattson, I think it was more about he was just doing whatever he could to make sure that the Baroness didn't find out in order to protect the child. And then on top of that, make it so that she could come back. Because it was obviously a setup with that necklace, right? That had the key in it. He had to have been saving that birth certificate so that she could take over the Baron's
So he just wasn't worried when he knew his fake mother got murdered. And he was like, oh, she's like 8 years old in the streets of London. Just going to hope she survives another 10 years or something. I don't know. Just seems like a loosely put together plan.
Sure. My question is why is he so happy to serve Cruella when she's no different than...
That's all. There you go.
She's way different. She's a step up.
That's fair.
She hasn't murdered anyone. She hasn't killed any dogs. She's literally killed nothing.
It's true.
And the Baroness torched an entire building to kill Cruella. That's a villain through and through.
Not to mention she was literally kill my child.
Yeah. So, Mattson, I thought that same thing. And the way I justified that or rectified that was I wondered how many people he knew that she killed before that.
Yeah.
Right? Because if she's willing to kill people, you're probably a little bit more hesitant to.
Did he like going to work? How did you feel about going to work every day?
Dude, I've quit for way less than that. Are you kidding me?
Those are some disengaged employees right there.
Productivity's got to be at an all-time low for those guys. Turnover's got to be a nightmare.
It was. But could you imagine how cool this movie had been if Cruella the whole time had been as psycho as the Baroness? And it was just these two that were willing to go to any lengths to win.
It would have been rated R.
It would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I know, right, Ian? I wish they would.
Was this movie PG-13?
It was.
Why?
Death.
Bitchiness.
Well, the mom, the adopted mom.
She got pushed off a cliff. That happens all the time, man.
Not by dog.
I thought it was a very soft PG-13. I'm just gonna be straight.
As a side note, asking for a friend, how do you train your dog to push someone off a cliff? Just theoretically speaking.
That's fair.
Hey, she might have put a little bit of meat in her pocket.
I'm just saying, that whistle, she's got those dogs really well trained to do different things with one whistle. So,
Same whistle.
Good for her.
Hey, do we think she killed that groomer that lost the dogs? I wonder if that guy died.
Probably.
Why didn't Cruella gut those dogs? She's like, one of these dogs has the necklace, my mom's necklace. We're going to wait for it to poop it out. I'm like, no, Cruella would literally gut this thing in the car.
Well, and then I almost got excited at the end.
Me too.
Near the end. I want to say the end, but here's the problem. There was still 45 minutes left of this fucking movie in this moment that I'm talking about, which was the first realization that I went, holy shit, this movie's long. And that is when she does that last fashion show out in the middle of the street and she's wearing what looks like the Dalmatian, and even the Baroness was like, she killed my dogs and made a coat.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, yes.
I was like, finally, this is my Cruella. And then she didn't.
Yeah, then
not that I want the dogs to die, but that's Cruella.
Right. We were this close to having a real villain.
Yeah. And if you had done that, if you had made that happen, then I would have believed the payoff in the end in that credit scene where they set up the next movie, right? It obviously doesn't need to be a gift from her, but you can see those two coming home with their puppies and going, okay, now I can see this setup. Now I want to see Emma Stone in a remake of 101 Dalmatians.
I would,
as it stands, I don't.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I would also be more forgiving of Cruella being soft this whole movie. And then she just has this like turning point of these dogs killed my mom and now they have my necklace. I'm killing them. And she kills these dogs. And then that's a good pivoting point where it's like, okay, now I'm full blown Cruella. I am psycho. I'm like, okay, all right. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
See,
it would have changed.
I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have said anything.
Say again.
I said you don't have to. I don't have to say anything. You guys already know how bad this movie is.
On here, I thought you said you guys are already shitting on this movie. I was hoping I got an extra shit out of you instead of just your intro.
You got to earn those, JJ.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to earn those shits.
Ian, I do have a question for you. I was asked why do you say some shit? Where did that originate from?
Because we told him.
Because they told me to say some shit when I came my turn to say something. He said, just say some shit. And so I said some shit.
Yeah, he's like, I don't really know what to say. I was like, just say some shit. And then he said some shit and it stuck.
That's what I went with.
The ultimate dad joke.
Yeah, it's perfect.
By the one who's least close to being a dad.
But that's by choice, Ian. You could go get someone pregnant today if you wanted to.
Thanks, Javier. I appreciate the vote of confidence.
You're welcome. Money can buy anything in this world.
I guess that is a rational.
I mean, it's not untrue.
Yeah, it's totally true.
No, you couldn't call it untrue. But we certainly don't want to see it come true.
There you go.
Come.
I knew he was going to do it.
Wow.
And when we get on me for having some potty humor, that was some stuff right there.
That was low hanging fruit, guys. I'm sorry.
Wow. And the joke keeps going.
All right, just let the record show that I've said some stupid potty stuff, but that was some next level shit right there, dude. I love Javier.
So after our seditiously sexual jokes, we'll move along. I wanted to like this movie, guys. I really did, because I like the cast. I like the characters. They just fell short. They weren't brave enough to do what they needed to do with the main character, Cruella.
You guys have all made a really good point about she just wasn't what she was supposed to be. It was too soft, and I didn't really think about that a lot till now. So I think those are solid points.
Why does Disney keep doing this though? Like Mulan wasn't who she was supposed to be. Cruella wasn't who she was supposed to be. You can even make the argument like Maleficent wasn't either. They keep like watering down these villains who also happen to all be female. So I don't know. I'm not saying that Disney is fucking sexist, but I think we should look into it a little bit.
And not to mention that, but like they were good villains in the cartoons. I remember as a child being intimidated and afraid of these characters, to some degree, and because they're crazy and they're villains and they're true villains. And I like that. And now, like, I wouldn't be able to go. If they were to make, which I'm sure they will because they set it up, if they make this live action remake of 101 Dalmatians, how am I supposed to, I can't enjoy it the way that I would, because they didn't pay off her either true fall as to how far she gets in, based on the cartoon, or they have to water her down in the next movie and make her somewhat likable, which defeats the purpose. How do I have a villain that I'm actually going to root for? And I'm with you. I think it's silly that Disney's just replaying old content and then taking great villains and making them likable characters. I don't want that. I want my villains. Keep my villains.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I don't like, and maybe I'm getting too far into this, and you guys can tell me that if that's the case, but I worry about this idea of taking these very dark villains and justifying their behaviors, because I feel like as a kid, you're learning that the behavior that these villains are showing is now justified based on the way they came up through these origin prequel stories. And I think I don't understand why that is a route that Disney is taking.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's okay to have people like characters that it's not okay to replicate, right? Like this is a bad person, and that's it. And they do bad things.
And we don't have to try to justify their behavior.
Yeah. Don't be a dragon and eat someone. Don't train your Dalmatians to hurt people.
Don't kill puppies.
Don't ask your butler to kill your child. I mean, yeah.
That's almost kind of what's funny about this movie is you had the Cruella character, but it wasn't Cruella.
Thank you. That's what I said to Nicole. I was like, she's a better Cruella.
Yeah, it was Cruella's mom. Just let Cruella fall off the cliff for real and leave her mom.
Because she was, like, in this movie's defense, she was unapologetically a bad person.
Yes.
She was a villain through and through, right?
A great one.
Yeah. So what? In 10 years from now, are we going to remake a movie about the Baroness and how she was abused as a child and that's why she's a psycho? Like, what?
I agree. And disclaimer, abuse is real, can change your life, make you a different person, make you do some shitty things. I've seen that too. There's a lot of things that we can say are part of where people have gone through things and it makes them a different person than what they may have been had they not. But I don't need my villains to have that sympathetic bone. Honestly, if they were like Cruella was abused as a kid, that's why she's a psycho, I'd be like, yeah, makes sense. Cool. Sure. Do your thing. Yeah. Like, the origin story of Magneto, where he was like, he was put in Auschwitz and his family were killed by Nazis. And I'm like, oh yeah, whatever this guy does, totally justified. I am on his side 100%. That's the kind of backstory I want for a villain. Like, he's a bad person, but like, I get it. Let's rate Cruella.
All right, let's rate this thing.
All right, Matt, kick us off.
And having talked and listened to all of you and hearing the very good opinions around Estella becoming Cruella, while this movie didn't bother me, this movie was long. I did like the music. I liked the acting. A lot of the jokes did land for me. The journey of Estella to Cruella, and thinking about that more, thanks to my wonderful co-hosts, is a glaring oversight for me, along with the terrible CGI. Along with this movie being much, much too long. Hence why I didn't even know there was a mid-credits scene. Like, thank goodness for JJ. What would we do without him? We wouldn't be here without JJ. Let's be honest. Thank you, JJ. So with that, I'm going to give this a solid, I'm just going to give it a 3. Like, for me, while those things were glaring mistakes, I think I like Emma Stone. She was a great lead. I like the Baroness as well. Not a great movie, not a bad movie. We've seen much. I mean, take 2 weeks ago when we watched The Army of the Dead, like, just, oh my gosh. Like, I think that's another reason that this movie doesn't come off as bad. That movie was atrocious for me. And this movie was like, it was okay. It's middle of the road. I don't think I'll really watch it again, but if one of my nieces and nephews put it on and they wanted to watch, like, all right, like, I'll be there. But just a middle of the road 3.
Cool. Ian.
I struggle with this movie, and I think as I've thought about it and as we've talked more, I think the biggest frustration is it had so much potential. You had wonderful acting, well casted. They all played their parts so well. But where I just struggle is that you put Cruella on this movie. If it wasn't pitched as this Cruella, this is her coming up and how she got to be who she is, I might have enjoyed it more. But there's also times where the comedic relief or the jokes just fell absolutely flat for me. Horace and Jasper were kind of entertaining here and there, but I struggled. And it's funny that you bring up Army of the Dead, because I may have once or twice said maybe I should have watched Army of the Dead instead. So I was struggling a little bit with this movie.
Oh, that movie's so bad. I don't know about that.
If I have to, I'm not going to go there. Yeah, so I kind of just struggled with this movie, as well as kind of going into that whole kind of end topic about justifying villains and the reasoning behind it. And I just really didn't enjoy this movie. With that said, there was some great acting. Emma Stone did awesome. I think that if they would have made a real Cruella movie, I think she could have pulled that off as well. And yeah, some of the visuals were pretty interesting. And yeah, we'll go with I'll give it a begrudging 2, and I don't plan on watching it again.
JJ, spurring off of what Ian just said, we need to do a podcast of talking about some of our worst movies we've watched. Should do that. Just saying. I think that'd be funny. Anyways, we'll throw Jurassic Park in there.
Wow. As long as we can throw the town in there too.
Oh, I was going to beat you to it, man. I was like, here comes the town comment. Here it comes.
Yeah, we can make that happen. This one would definitely be included on my list. I wanted to like this movie because I love Emma Stone and I love Emma Thompson. I'm a big fan now of Joel Fry, who played Jasper. I thought his acting was very good back and forth. I enjoyed the guy that played Horace, but he was pure comedic gold. It wasn't necessarily because his character was interesting. He was just funny. Everything he did made me actually laugh, which was like the only thing that made me laugh in this movie. But none of that, the acting, like has been said, none of it could save the overall feeling of this movie for me. And I think it really comes down to what we said a million times over the last 45 minutes. And that is, I don't want to feel like I have to relate to Cruella. I just want to know. I'm fine with an origin story. And I think Emma Stone pulled it miraculously when she was standing at that fountain the last time and she was letting go of that moment when she truly lets go of her actual persona and just leans into Cruella, and that is who she becomes. I would have been thrilled with that because she played it perfectly in that moment. Little weird, creepy smiles and sadness and a little psychosis in there that you just were like, this is a great portrayal of Cruella. And I think my problem comes, the more I think about it, as we've been talking about, it comes from, we have Jasper and Horace, who she considers family and she's kind to even at the end. And I'm like, that's not Cruella. She's a dick to those guys in the original cartoon constantly. Have them stick with her, but out of fear of what she could do because of what she's become. I would have loved that, and it would have been more believable if you just would have leaned into her being a villain instead of trying to hang on to having little kids enjoy this movie more than what they probably should, considering the material. If you're going to do live action, do live action. Leave the cartoons for the kids. Give us adults who grew up on those cartoons what we want in live action. Disney, that's what I'm asking for. Let it be dark and what you portrayed as a cartoon in live action. So that's my biggest issue. I think there were some saving graces, Mattson. You mentioned before the soundtrack. I love the songs in this, even though to Ian's point, sometimes they didn't fit. They just felt like a great playlist, but it had that feel, especially during the, her taking over the shows and the parties every time. It really fit with that. So that theme. So I liked that part. Overall, though, at the end of it, they really ruined it and made it a not great movie. I will give it a 2 because when I think about Army of the Dead, for me, that one was such a wretched movie. She Dies Tomorrow is a wretched movie. And I gave that half and a 1. And I feel like because of the acting, because of the music, and because of the potential that Ian talked about, I have to score it a little higher. So I'm going to give it a 2, and I won't watch it again because it'll make me sad. Javier, finish this off.
Okay. That was a good monologue, dude. That was probably the best line delivery in that whole movie.
So good.
It was so good. It was like weirdly moving, considering like it was a villain becoming a villain, but it was all about a villain like being true to who she is, which is a terrible person. It was cool.
But still has the wherewithal to turn around at the very end and say, but I did love you.
Yeah.
But I do love you. Like, so she's having that emotional moment, which I liked, but there was such a frightening piece of her that showed during that. Anyway, yeah, great monologue.
Yeah, dude, whatever you are, be a good one,
Yeah, be the best.
Be the best.
And in that moment, she was.
Yeah, it was really good. I think that at some point, Disney needs to commit to telling a good story and not relying on good acting and shitty CGI. Like at some point, we've got to hold these guys to a better standard than what they've been producing recently, including Marvel. Like, come on. At some point, you have to tell a unique story, right? What happened to the Disney that like came up with unique stories that like challenged the status quo? Dude, Disney is just status quo now. Like, so disappointed. I think as far as origin story for Cruella, it was a miss, right? Like they did not do a good job. The CGI was terrible. The plot progression was kind of all over the place. It was too long. There were parts in this movie where I'm like tempted to scroll through Instagram because I'm so freaking bored of this movie. There's not a lot of good things to say about it, but to be fair, like it's not a terrible movie. Like I think you'll enjoy at least some part of it if you go watch it. So I'm going to echo you guys. I'm going to give it a 2. I'm not going to watch this again though, because JJ's right. Like I wanted to see a villain and I didn't see a villain. So
except Emma Thompson.
That's not the villain that I was expecting to see.
Not the villain I want.
Yeah. It wasn't named the Baroness. It was named Cruella. Stupid.
Would have been a fantastic movie if it was named The Baroness.
Yeah, if she was the main character and she just like, yeah. I'm with Ian, dude. If this was a different movie, like if it was named something else and take out the Dalmatians, like this would have been a really interesting movie. Yeah. Anyway, so 2, not going to see it again.
All right, there we go. Yeah, the more I think about it. And then, so Ian sent me a text last night before I watched this, and Rotten Tomatoes, this thing's huge. Like, people love this fucking movie. And I have to think that
We are better than other people.
Well, and I think
stupid idiots compared to us.
Exactly. That's one. But I started thinking about it. I was like, why is that? And it has to be the performances. It's the only thing I can think of is that people love Emma Stone and they love Emma Thompson. And then the character, the side characters were fun. That they didn't. I think you lose track sometimes of the shit that's going on around all that. Because man, this missed in so many ways, in my opinion. But anyway, there's our rating. It's an movie. Like I said, barely gets a streaming, I think, for most of us now that we've talked about it. But cool. Mattson, tell them where they can find us, buddy.
As you heard me intimately talk about at the beginning, now that you've listened to us in this whole podcast, if you want to listen to Jurassic Park, The Town, God forbid she dies tomorrow, you want to listen to something that's a good movie like A Quiet Place, Spotify, Ghana, Stitcher. Listen. Check out our website, whatsourverdict.com. You want to buy a sticker of Javier's head? Check out our merch. Come visit us on social media. Slide into those DMs. Let us know if you want us to talk about some of the worst movies we've rated. If you want exclusive content of things I've said in this episode, and I don't know if all those will even make it into our exclusive content, or funny things Javier, Ian, or JJ have said, subscribe. Let's do this thing. Thank you for listening.
Definitely. And a quick shout out, and maybe it won't go sideways this time. On Twitter, we got a shout out from @WildcardMovies. His name's on his tags Unspoken Montana. Says he's one of our we are one of his two favorite film podcasts to listen to right now. So we appreciate that. He does have a podcast, a sports podcast. Yeah, it's called the Unspoken Rule Pod. It's a sports podcast he does with another friend of his, and his is @WildcardMovies with a Z. So MOVIZIE.
I thought it was.
So yeah, go check him out. Go check out his podcast. Again, the Unspoken Rule Pod. Looks like it'd be interesting. I'm gonna give it a listen. I'm a big sports guy, not quite as much as Mattson, but
like to reiterate my challenge to his other favorite podcast. I say we watch and review the same movie, and he has to let us know who his favorite podcast is and who his number 2 favorite podcast is.
They're a pretty big podcast, Javier.
I'll take them on.
I'm down. I think we should all just do some cross promotion and review movies together. But I'm in. Let's do it.
No, I'm in a villainous mood. I will crush anyone.
Their podcast is Raiders of the Lost Podcast. They're fun to listen to.
Ah, damn it, that's a great name.
I know, isn't it? Yeah. They're cool guys. So anyway, go check those guys out. A lot of fun. We appreciate the shout out, man. And good luck with the pod. Let us know if you need anything. And so thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate you listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye now.
What?
Cinemagic out.
Na, 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 na.